YouTube. I just want to go over a couple of these issues with the air box that people are having. So everybody's wondering how to dry storage these how to keep these air boxes dry and not have problems opening and shutting them. Let me show you how easy mine is to open. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to take a finger here and just lift up. No clip, no pressure. Nice and easy. Nice and dry. Clean in there. Probably need the foam filter, spray that again. So anyways, what I did was I removed the gasket that sits in here. And I put the right stuff gasket maker in here. Get this to sit up in here. And then I let it cure. 3-4 days, 5 days, I think it was a whole week I let it sit and cure. Same with removing this air box. I removed the air box and I did all these rubber boots where they connect. You can see it kind of right in there, just a little bit. Didn't overkill it, just got to put enough in there. Come around here. Let's go under in here. You can see where I've done it right in here and gotten this to seal up also right there where these boots connect. You want to pull the air box and seal all these boots. Disconnect everything, pull it out. Like I said, I put 2 weeks into doing mine. I put my snorkels in. So about this here, gasket maker this in here. Leave a little bit lighter on the edges where it clips, just a little bit. And then after it dries, put your gasket back in. Like I said, I left mine for a week and it still allowed a little bit to seep out around, but it wasn't enough to stick. So it makes it really easy when you want to open this and get in there and not have any issues. It's like OEM, the way when you bought it, you know, to open that box and close it. So that's what I did to seal this lid, and it doesn't leak. I haven't had any problems with leaking. I've checked being in the water, taking it out several times. People have asked me, how are you not leaking through your air box lid? And I show them all the way around. There's no water lines where the water had been seeping in to the air box lid. I don't have an issue there. All my water marks that I get in there, which is a very small amount of water, comes in from this guy here in the back, the resonator that everybody says to remove. But I have not found out from Honda directly yet why they install the resonator box and how important it is to this machine itself. Myself personally, I don't want to obsolete anything, being an ex-Honda mechanic, and have it be an issue later on. Like people obsolete the oxygen sensor on the exhaust. I'm not doing that, because now you're tricking the bike's computer into thinking it's cold all the time. Yeah, it might make you run a little better, but how does that do with the temperature rating on the four-wheeler and the stress that it puts under the four-wheeler's motor to run under a higher RPM because it thinks it's cold and it's trying to warm itself up? So these are issues that I don't do. All I've done is dielectric grease. You can see my connection's still there. Pull this out of the way. See, my connection's still there. It's just been dielectric greased, and I haven't had a single problem. I dielectric grease everything thoroughly. I don't over pump it in to where it's squirting out everywhere and squirt it all over my wires and everything. I want to be able to work on my quad if I ever have to, or same with my mechanics. If I have to take it in for a service or something like that, which I don't typically do, I do it all myself. But there's occasions when I don't have the time that I just need to get a service done that it would go into the shop. Let me get this out here, pop him, pull this guy off. Another thing is, I've noticed a lot of people are putting all this into dry storage, all your relays here. they're trying to put them into dry storages. I have not done that either. The reason being is because I used dielectric grease, and I did it thoroughly. I made sure that I pulled it apart, and dielectric greased every one of the these switches. So the four-wheel drive switch and everything, I don't have any issues with it. Like I said, I made sure there was no pinholes in them, and I went all the way around the connection themselves, where the connection is to the actual solenoid, the little blue solenoids that are in there. I made sure that where the plug connection to the actual solenoid cover was dielectric greased, and then I looked at each solenoid and made sure that there was no pinholes in them, and nothing else, no cracks, no fractures, nothing that had to be sealed to keep water from getting into them. On the bottom of them, on some of them, had little pinholes that went up in the bottom, and I made sure to pump enough dielectric grease into there that it would seal it, but I didn't make a mess, and I wiped them all down. Dielectric grease the plug housing that it plugs into, and plugged every one of them back in. Of course, if you watch my other snorkel video, you can see the little black plugs that are in there that you want to make sure you dielectric grease them too. Same with this computer, all these plugs. You see how it's not just going everywhere. It's not a huge mess of dielectric grease. Look at that, my hands are clean, they're just wet from water. I just made sure to fill the plug itself till it came out a little bit, and I wiped it off. So it was clean, easy to work on. You unplug it, plug it back in. I haven't had any issues. All these plugs, same thing. You know, made sure to clean them up. I like to wipe them down every once in a while just so everything stays nice and clean. But as long as there's enough dielectric grease in there, same with these guys here, all of them, as long as there's enough in there to make a seal that water can't get into, you won't have the issue anymore, and it's clean. It's all factory still. In fact, the factory puts dielectric grease in these plugs already to keep moisture out, just not enough, because we like to stick them completely underwater. So, like I said, you want to make sure there's enough in there. You don't want to go gooping it all on your wires and just make a huge mess that you have to clean up later on that a lot of people have had problems with. Make sure to do it very clean. Take your time, sit back, make it a weekend project for a month if you only have weekends. You know, I know a lot of guys want to get back out and ride, but once you've done it and you've done it thoroughly, I'm not spending any more time working on these issues. I just go out and ride when I'm ready to ride. When I have time, I take it out, I slam it in the water, put it in deep, ride it for hours in the water. I've not made enough videos on that because I need to get some more GoPros, or at least get one that works properly, and then I can make more videos that are longer of being in the water. The cell phone with water is not such a good thing. I've already damaged enough cell phones. Yeah, like I said, if you do it properly and spend the time, and take the time to do it properly, you won't have the problems that everybody else is having. Same with the rollover switch. That's another issue that people have that they don't realize when they go to start the bike and they're trying to find out why it's not wanting to run. The rollover switch has gotten too wet or water in it, and it's been engaged. Same with the fuse panels in the back. And then as far as the snorkels go, like I said, it's kind of hard to move around in here. Too many toys, not enough room. Need a couple more sheds so I can move some of this stuff out. Like I said, with the snorkel, I did the same thing with the pulling the box out, sealing the lid, letting that dry while sealing all the grommets that come out of the box. They have their rubber grommets that come out of the box for your air in, your air into the box, your air out of the box into your intake, and then this one comes with the resonator in the back, so it has one in the back too. Making sure that you pull them out when you pull the box out, and look, there's a groove in them. So then what I did was I put a little bit of that gasket maker on that groove, slipped them back in, peeled the edges back, and gasket makered that, cleaned it up real good, both sides, let it dry. Make sure that your gasket maker is equivalent to work with plastic and rubber. Some are only made for metal, and they don't adhere to the plastic or the rubber, and then they just pop free and you end up having a leak. So I came out of my air box here and there with a 90, put a 1.5 inch in that, only spaced it about the size of a zip tie into a 45. I believe these are both 45s, honestly. And then, yeah, they're both 45s. So I came out the airbox with a 45, 1.5-inch coupler, then 1.5-inch pipe, enough space between the two of them just to put a zip tie, so I come out real tight to the motor, but enough space between the motor to get a finger behind it so it's not actually sitting on the motor. And then 1.5, 6 inches long to a 1.5 rubber compression fitting, a rubber connector. I have 4 of these in my snorkel design, and these don't leak. Just make sure your pipe's as far in them as you can together. You don't want it sitting out here on the edge where, you know, if it gets too much pressure on it or something, it'll end up taking a little water in. You want to make sure it's tight in there. I didn't dielectric grease, silicone, or anything these connections because I want to take them apart easily. I just make sure that they're, you know, really snug down on there. Same with the one that's in between my frame there. Then I ran about 1.5 feet from this guy here up forward. It's really hard to see in there. I wonder if I can get my light to come on. Can't turn my flashlight on. Alright, so it's really hard to see in there right now because we have rain. Let's see, grab this guy here. Try to use him and get some light up in there. Alright, so go back here. So, like I said, about 1.5 feet from that coupler, I ran straight up to a T right there. Connected, went across the frame rail of 1.5 out of that T to another coupler, and then another 1.5, probably 6 inches. The first one's probably 4, and then 6 inches to a 90, so that they both could come out in the front identically. And then of course, you know, I got about off that T about 4 inches to another 90, then 2 inches or 4 inches to a rubber, and then probably 4 inches to another 90, then to a long 90, and then I came out my plastics here to another long transition 90, to another 90, and then straight up. Now these connections right here, I just silicone them on top, there and there, so that I can always extend it if I want to. Water doesn't get in there. I have videos going plenty deep enough to go over top of those. If you check out my video going alligator deep in Florida Pond, you can see going up to that headlight pod. I'm sure in other videos you can see that too. But I've had it up probably to here before. Yeah, right about there. Yeah, right about there. Before, several, actually quite a few times. I usually try to get it up high, water wheelie it when it gets that deep, just so I don't put these guys under. But I did do 2, so I don't get vection, you know, suckage. It's not pulling as much on one. I like that benefit better. The more air to your air box, the more airflow you can get to your intake, the better your bike can run. So I didn't want to restrict it at all. I was trying to give it as much flow because I'm pulling from a long distance. I mean, you're extending all that ventilation so far up. So I made sure to give double the ventilation. Plus, if it allows me, if I tip over, one can take in water and it won't stall me immediately. It'll just go back to the air box. And then if I water really, it'll go into the resonator box and it'll stay in there until I can get it to shore and dump my air breather drain line on the bottom. Yeah, I do want to take this crankcase breather here like people are doing and just do a big loop with it just in case I ever was to flip over and fill my air box. But like I said, I haven't done that with this or done anything with this because I haven't had issues, and I've had it in really deep for long points of time and it doesn't give me any problems. Like I said, if it's done properly and you spend the time, you make sure you go over everything and look up everything, specs from Honda and everything, so that you know what you need and what this bike calls for. You won't have as many issues as everybody's having. You know, a lot of people just rush through it, I think, because they want to go out on a weekend and just go riding with their friends, or go, you know, everybody's going out. I spent the time, and when it was done, I haven't had a problem since. So I wish you all the best. I hope you all have a great weekend, and you ride hard and enjoy that water. If you have any issues or problems, or you know, you want to see something that you didn't see in any of my videos as far as snorkeling, let me know. I'd be more than happy to make another video for you guys. Alright, have a good one.